Sup guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you've been enjoying the recent content and I really appreciate all the feedback and the support. Big thank you as always. Today we're diving into something a little different. The times Battlefield kinda screwed up. Every game has its highs and lows, but I want to walk you through some of the things players hated the most, from Bad Company 2 all the way up to Battlefield 2042. So let's start with Bad Company 2. This game was a blast. The destruction, the humor in the single player, the overall vibe, people just loved it, but it wasn't flawless. Vehicles, especially helicopters, could absolutely dominate a match if your team didn't have a good counter. And compared to what came later, customization was really limited. You couldn't really mess with your loadouts or HUD in the way players wanted, so after a while things felt a bit restrictive. Some maps also had nasty choke points that could stall an entire round. Even with that though, Bad Company 2 is remembered super fondly and really set the stage for Battlefield and its formula. Then we got Battlefield 3, and man, what a game. For a lot of people, this was the golden era of Battlefield. The sound design, the maps, the Frostbite engine, it all felt so fresh and new, but at the same time it wasn't perfect. Customization for weapons and the UI was really bare bones, and people had to rely on third-party stuff if they wanted more control. And then there was Battlelog, EA's big social server browser idea, which was buggy at launch and caused plenty of frustration. On consoles, the smaller player counts and toned down visuals compared to PC made it feel like a different experience. Even with those issues, Battlefield 3 still set the tone for what people expected from the series going forward. Now, Battlefield 4 is a crazy story because it went from one of the worst launches to one of the best long-term Battlefields. At launch, it was an absolute disaster. The netcode was broken, rubber banding was everywhere, bullets weren't even registering, people were getting killed behind cover, servers crashed constantly, some maps were literally unplayable, and the frustration was through the roof. But DICE didn't give up, and over time the game transformed. People got quality of life improvements, the customization got deeper, the maps were fixed, vehicles and infantry balanced out, and eventually people realized that Battlefield 4 has turned into an absolute classic. It's wild to think a game that rough at launch could bounce back so hard and become one of the, if not the best Battlefield for many players. Oh boy, Battlefield 1. What an atmosphere, guys. The visuals, the sound design, the whole World War I setting, the Great War, was just incredible. But as usual, not everything was perfect. There were no server plugins or community tools, which meant players couldn't mod things or run their servers the way they wanted. There was also no proper team scrambling, so a lot of matches ended up painfully one-sided. And then you had the sweet spot mechanic for snipers, which personally I thought it was great, rewarding you for positioning at just the right range. But a lot of players absolutely hated it, saying it made sniping so easy or unfair, which I can see. But on top of that, weapon balance in general could feel inconsistent in times, but with DLCs that balanced out, give or take. Even so, Battlefield 1 still stands out for its immersion and how different it felt from anything else at the time. And personally, I still think and I still believe that if I would rank them, I think Battlefield 1 would be my absolute favorite. And then we have Battlefield 5, and oh man, the controversy. The game played super fast, almost like an arcade shooter, which didn't sit right for a World War setting. The cosmetics and skins also caused some drama. A lot of them felt out of place or even cringy, like they didn't belong in a gritty World War II shooter at all. Big features that people loved from Battlefield 1, like operations, didn't really return in the same way, and some expansions players expected, like an Eastern Front campaign, never showed up. On top of that, a bunch of important World War II vehicles and weapons were missing, and then support was cut way too early. Behemoths from Battlefield 1 didn't make a comeback either. Also, don't get me started on the visibility. You can barely see any players in Battlefield 5. And every single skin or not works like they are camouflaged. This was and still is a huge issue in the game, and they never patched it. Remove the ability for people to add plugins or add-ons or whatever you call them, just like in Battlefield 1. And these plugins helped with team balancing, manual or automatic. They even went further and removed the team switch button. So if you didn't want to play attack or defend on this certain map, good luck, you're playing it, because dice. Yes, Battlefield 1 didn't have that either, but we had behemoths, which balanced the game most of the times or left players hungry for a comeback and not to give up. Battlefield 5 had decent gunplay once you got into it, but the missing content and the lack of long-term support left a bad taste, and a lot of fans felt let down. And finally, Battlefield 2042. And where do we begin? Honestly, this might go down as the most disappointing launch in the series. Right out of the gate, it was missing core Battlefield features. There was no scoreboard, no server browser, no voice chat. Stuff players had taken for granted for years. The new specialist system replaced the classic classes, and most people hated it, obviously including me, saying it killed teamwork and made the game feel less like Battlefield. The maps were enormous, but also felt empty, with huge stretches of open ground and barely any cover, which just meant endless running before getting blown up by a vehicle. Also, jets flying into a building and bouncing off. It was such a mess. Performance issues, bugs, hit detection problems, you name it. Some of these things have been fixed with updates. Voice chat and a proper scoreboard eventually came back, but the damage was already done. For a lot of fans, 2042 just didn't feel like Battlefield anymore. And seriously, specialists? Come on, guys. But people, let's wrap this up. So, yeah, every Battlefield has had its low points. Bad Company 2 was fun but limited. Battlefield 3 was iconic but light on customization. Battlefield 4 launched in shambles but redeemed itself like a phoenix. Battlefield 1 split the community with design choices like the sweet spot mechanic. Battlefield 5 pushed too hard in the wrong direction. And 2042? Well, that one is still trying to recover its identity. At the end of the day though, Battlefield has still given us some amazing moments over the years, and that's why people keep coming back. And honestly, EA and DICE, if you're listening, we just want a Battlefield that feels like Battlefield again. Balanced maps, polished launches, real server tools, and long-term support, behemoths and Levolution. Operations mod from Battlefield 1. Keep the teamwork, the chaos, the destruction, and make sure the core Battlefield identity is there on day 1. If you can deliver that with Battlefield 6, which I'm praying for, the community will be ready to rally behind. But anyway, that's it for this one. Let me know in the comments what you guys think was the biggest failure in Battlefield history, and what you think DICE needs to fix or add for the upcoming game. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay safe. See you.